this is Ivonne, and today at the Seat at the Table podcast, we're excited to welcome Meredith from the Garden Kitchen. She's a passionate advocate for community health and nutrition, and through her work, she helps make fresh food affordable, accessible to everyone, and we're thrilled to have her join us today to talk about the impact of the programs and the power of communities.
Hello, everyone. I am Meredith Glauback. I am the local food system coordinator for the Garden Kitchen and really excited to be here with you today. Thanks so much for having me, Yvonne.
What is the Garden Kitchen, and how did it get started in the community?
Yeah, so the Garden Kitchen is part of the University of Arizona Pima County Cooperative Extension, and we are a SNAP Ed program. We started back in 2012. It's a pretty cool story, actually. So this piece of land became available, and the community in the nearby area said they really wanted to see community programming happening there, specifically around health education and healthy living. And so the county, the city, and the university came together, decided that they were going to really try to put something in there as soon as possible. And within 11 months, started the Garden Kitchen, which is really amazing for these large bureaucratic institutions. And so it started off with programming, and we still do programming related to nutrition, physical activity, and gardening. We do that with early childhood, preschoolers, seniors, and adults. And over time, it started to include more policy, systems, and environmental changes. So thinking about those more like long-term infrastructure changes in our practices and in our environment to make more healthy living possible longer into the future.
And this office is in Tucson, right?
Yes. So this is in the city of South Tucson.
South Tucson.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's even.
Which is a really amazing, like super vibrant community to be in. We're really lucky to be there and in a place that has such a strong like culinary and like backyard garden history. And so through the years, they decided they were interested in adding some local food programming, which is where I come in. And so I run a program called Plaza Mobile Market, and we are a mobile farmers markets that goes to different areas that might not otherwise have access to much local produce. And we sell at a 50% discount to make sure that folks have access to delicious, beautiful local produce.
That is so neat. And how do you guys community engagement besides the programming that you said? How do you guys reach that community, especially in South Tucson, through your Plaza Market? How do people find out about it? How do you engage them so that they know that this is available for them at that price?
Yeah. So specifically for Plaza Mobile Market, we started out with focus groups specifically for participants of SNAP, which is our main audience, to see whether this kind of program is something they'd be interested in. And we also did interviews with farmers. So trying to really understand the viability of the program, make sure it's something that people would really be invested in and want in their communities. And so when we heard a resounding yes from that, we took the main points that we learned from those focus groups, which is that people were struggling with transportation, struggling to find really high quality produce, and felt that farmers markets weren't necessarily a space that they belonged. They felt like they could be for like a specific demographic that just didn't represent them. And so that really went into our development of the program. And so after a year at our first location, for folks who are familiar with Tucson, we're at the Valencia Library. So we did a year there, and then we did another round of focus groups to figure out where we should be doing our second location and what people would want to see out of that. So really trying to get a ton of community feedback. The other cool thing about running a farmer's market is that you get feedback every day from what people buy. And so I know that dates are super popular, but at one of my markets, chard, super unpopular. And so we just don't bring very much anymore. And so it's been really great having that like real-time feedback. And then in terms of like how we bring more people in, a lot of it honestly is word of mouth. People, I think, really want to hear from like a trusted source that this will be like a welcoming space and that they will be able to afford it.
Yeah.
And so that's been the best part is like people telling their neighbors, telling other people in their lives that this is a place they really enjoy being. And we've gotten a lot of growth from that.
And even having like the vegetables that people might not be used to, like having access to them, and then maybe like trying to figure out how they can include those healthy things into their diet. So that exposes them to different things that maybe they wouldn't be able to try because it's more expensive or whatever. But now that they're getting it for half price, maybe they're more willing to give it a try.
Yes, the items so that if you're unfamiliar with something but interested in trying it, there's a vetted recipe for you to try it with.
That's amazing. That's really neat. And what have you learned from participants? I know that I'm sure there's a wealth of information that people give you, but like what have you learned from them? And then can you share your favorite success story? Maybe who's somebody like that really you guys really touched through the program, and like somebody that keeps coming back, or whatever feedback that they gave you, something that keeps you excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we started out doing the program, we really wanted the main impacts to be supporting the farmers because we buy from farmers at fair market price. We want to make sure that farming is a sustainable, viable career for folks, and increasing access to local food. The part that I didn't realize would be so important is creating like social connection between folks. And so that's what I've really learned is that if you create a welcoming space, people are like really, really invested in having spaces to connect with others. Serve a lot of older folks, and that particularly for them, I think is something that they're really craving. And so, like, really, all we did is create like an inclusive environment, a kind of slow market. So there's a lot of opportunity to chat with other folks. And the customers like really brought in this third aspect of deep connection with one another. And it's really helped remind me how important social connection is to physical health. There's so much research showing that there's a connection between social isolation or social connection and mortality rates. So it's a really important and really overlooked thing. And so, yeah, I think I've learned a lot from our customers and our participants that people are really wanting that, and that's such an important part of our lives, and that we need more spaces for folks to just connect and chat and share about themselves. We have a lot of people who share recipes with one another, particularly these like heritage and family recipes. And to me, I think that's really intimate. Like you're really sharing part of yourself. And so I think that's been really cool too, of like seeing that folks are like really willing to like invest in the other folks in this space and like really proud of the recipes they're bringing and wanting to share that pride. So I feel very lucky to have learned that. And then one story that sort of shows that is that this woman was coming to the market. I think it was her first time, and she was wanting to buy Verdelas personal. And so she's in line, she's about to check out, and she asks us, like, what can I use this for? How could I make this? And the woman behind her in line like stops her and is like, I have an amazing recipe. And they start chatting. They realize they're from the same state of Mexico and like really talking about their upbringings. And after they check out, and the woman does end up buying the first lane, they exchange phone numbers. And it really just showed to me like how much food can be this vehicle for connection, for sharing, for building community. And so that's one of my favorite stories. But there are so many like it where people have built friendships from just chatting about the food at the market.
I can imagine. I mean, if they just gather there every week, I see how it's thriving. Oh, it's this nice place to not only go get healthy food, but like you said, get community out of it as well. And you mentioned it's so good for their physical health. And yes, they're eating healthier, but also how good for their mental health to have these relationships and these new bonds where they would just be home alone or go to the store and not talk to anyone, where here they can have that little community that they're building themselves and investing via their recipes or conversations or just a smile if they're being a little shy. I love the fact that it brings so many people together while they can get very affordable, nutritious food at the same time. That's really cool. What seasonal fruits or veggies are you the most excited to cook with right now?
Amaranth is something that I've started cooking with a lot. And it's something that I hadn't tried at all before the market. And so for folks who don't know, it's a leafy green, but the whole plant is like amazing and it's super nutrient dense. And the thing about it, like a lot of things here in the desert, is that some people would call it a weed. Like it grows really well here in places maybe it's not supposed to be all the time, but it's so nutritious, so delicious. It's basically like spinach, and really just reminds me of like, I don't know, sometimes when we call things weeds, it's coming from a very specific space. And we should really like be thinking about all of the ways that we can use the different foods that like grow and thrive in the desert. Like it's so amazing to have something that is so thriving here in the desert with such little water. And so I really loved cooking more with that. And it's great because yeah, you just put it in with some like oil, onions, garlic. It's so easy, but really, really delicious.
Nice. Oh, okay. So I think it's quelites in Spanish, right? Is
It
it?
is calitas, yeah.
I've had them. They're good. Growing up, my grandma used to make us go out and like go find them because they grow everywhere. Because I grew up in Mexico and we would just go and try to find them. And we would go into, they were like this fields just full of them. And we would just go and like pick them. And sometimes we would pick some random weed that wasn't quelites. And she just sort through them and it's like, no, look, this one looks like this. And she would teach us how to identify it with the leaves. And even now, sometimes I drive by the Santa Cruz River. You can see beneath. I'm like, I bet you all those are quelites. You could probably make all this, a big old pot of them. So it's really neat. And I'm sure a lot of our Hispanic community down in South Tucson can really identify with them because a lot of us grew up eating quelites in one way or another. So that's really fun.
Totally. And they're so hard to find at the farmers market. Like that's what we hear about both Sam and Verdolagas is that like it's so nice to have access to these things that
Yeah.
folks grew up with.
Yeah, because I don't think I've ever seen them at the store. If I go to the grocery store, I don't think I've ever seen those things there. It's just a thing that I know I used to eat because my grandma used to have them in her garden or would have us go and depending on what she was making out of it. Do you have a favorite recipe? Is that your favorite recipe right now? The
Ooh,
quelites.
I also really love leeks. And so we're really lucky to have leeks at the market. And so leeks with a lot of butter on some pasta, I think is so, so delicious.
So do you just saute them or you bake them? How do you cook them?
Yep. Just saute them and just keep adding a little bit of butter as they cook through. Not the healthiest, but so delicious.
What partnerships or collaborations have helped amplify your impact in South Tucson or beyond even?
So our library partnerships have been amazing, and we just wouldn't be able to do the program without them. So both of our weekly markets are at a library. So one is for folks in Tucson, one is at the Valencia Library, one is at the Quincy Douglas Library. And in general, these libraries are just like beacons of community in these neighborhoods, and folks. What we've heard is just feel like really like safe and happy to be in those spaces. And so I think it gives a lot of credibility to our programming because people trust whatever the library supports. And so that's been really amazing. And the library has provided us with so much support. So they're out at the market every week. And so if you have a question about resources in the library, you can come to the market, shop, and then chat with a librarian.
That's neat.
And also it's really cool because there's like these wraparound food related services. Because so many libraries have at least a little bit of a food pantry. And then they also have seed libraries. So I know this isn't true throughout all of Arizona, but here in Pima County, many of our libraries have these seed libraries where you can get seeds at a library. I think it's up to 10 a month, completely free. Suggested that you bring back some of your seeds if you're seed saving. But really, it's an amazing resource. I've really loved using it. It's completely free.
People just walk in. Do people just walk in with their library card and say, I would like some seeds, and then they just are given seeds? How does that work?
Yeah, so you can browse for the seeds that you want and you can decide. They usually have little indicators of how hard they are to grow, which is really helpful. And the seasonality, they'll only put out things that are seasonal. And so you can choose what you're interested in growing And there's such a huge selection. I think there's a little bit of flowers, but tons of edible plants. And yeah, then you can just check them out totally for free.
Have an excuse to not grow our own veggie garden, huh?
I know, it's so cool. Yeah, just get a little bit of good soil and you're good to go. And then both of them also have gardens on site. And so it's a really cool way to see in practice what growing a small garden can look like. And I think they have them and like they're growing in different ways. And so there's a lot to learn from how they're growing and what their gardening programming is. So it's a really cool way to see lots of different parts of the food system come together in one space.
So if people, let's say, take the seeds and they're having like a struggle and the plants, can they go to the library and ask whomever's working at the garden at the library about whatever vegetable or whatever that they're growing? Like, is there someone they have access to for that?
Yeah, and they may not be experts, but the great thing about librarians is they're master researchers. And so I think together, they would definitely be able to find some good solutions with anyone.
Okay. Do they tend the garden? Who tends the garden at the libraries?
It's mostly librarians. I think they may have some volunteers too. So if folks are interested in getting involved, I think that'd be a great way to learn a little bit about gardening.
What would you love more people to know about the Garden Kitchen and how can they get involved?
Yeah, so all of the staff and community volunteers get together and we have a public gardening hour. And it's been honestly one of my favorite parts of this job. And so it's Thursdays from 7 to 8:30 or so. And it's just a really cool way if you have garden knowledge to share it, if you're a beginner like I was, to learn a lot about the garden. And there's something really special about like waking up and like immediately connecting with the earth. We have chickens that are so fun to take care of. And it's a really cool space because it's specifically designed to show different ways that you can do backyard gardening. And so we have beds that are in-ground, raised beds, container gardens, like all of these different ways to learn how to backyard garden in your own space. And so I really love that. I'd really love for more folks to show up. The other part is that we're in a sort of precarious financial moment, math ed programs. And so if folks are interested in getting more involved in the Garden Kitchen, whether that's donation or otherwise, you can go to thegardenkitchen.com and learn more about what we're doing and how to get involved.
And you guys also teach classes, right? Like cooking classes and different things like that. Like, could you tell us about that?
Yeah, so historically, we've done a lot of hands-on classes. So from sauces classes to breads classes, and we do both public classes and also like private classes.
These are paid classes. Like if I want to learn how to do that, not only am I learning from a person that knows, that is an expert on the matter, but they're also getting help financially through whatever I pay for this class.
Exactly. Yes. You are helping us recover the costs of the amazing community programming that we're doing.
What does a just food system look like to you?
So I could talk about this for a really long time, but I will try to keep to a kind of simple answer. To me, it's looking at really broad spectrum of all of the parts of the cycle of the food system, and thinking about what justice looks like for the humans and the environment in those different moments. And so, starting off with seeds, and what does it look like to preserve our right to seed save and make sure there's like seed sovereignty, particularly for Indigenous communities who've been keeping these seeds viable for generations upon generations. Then, of course, thinking about the farmers, thinking about what does it look like to have a just system for farm workers? What does it look like to have a viable system for small farmers like the ones that we support in Tucson? How do we make sure that they're making a living wage doing one of the most important jobs that we have? To thinking about how does that food get distributed? And where does that really high quality food go? And who is deciding where our best food gets into the market? And then, of course, distribution at the supermarket. So there are different locations of buying food. How do we make sure it's affordable, it's accessible? And I think the really tough economic question of how do we make sure that folks can afford to buy really high quality foods while also our farm workers, our small farmers aren't being exploited. And so, yeah, really sitting with that messy and complex system to thinking about how we prepare our foods, and thinking about the like joyousness and the like beauty of the coming together around food, the preparation of food, thinking about the histories of like gender related exploitation around food and who was forced to make the food. And in this country, think about like the foods that people grew up with. Not all of them were able to continue eating. Like if we think about like indigenous food cultures, you know, there have been a lot of histories of oppression connected to what food people ended up having access to. And so, yeah, thinking about all of that together of the power that has come from food and eating food, the social movements that have been powered by like getting together around the dinner table and coming up with plans and connection, and also, yeah, the like dark histories that are related to food. And then, of course, who has access to information around healthy eating and how to access healthy foods. And so I think it's the tricky question of holding all of that together, and really making sure that any progress we make isn't at the detriment to any other part of that food system. So not an easy thing to do, but I think a worthy cause.
That is a very big question. But in your mind, what would it look like for more people to have a seat in the decision-making table?
Yeah. So I think this is such a exciting but difficult at times question. So for me, I do all of this. I think all of this is important for the eventual future of like more people having more power, more people having more democratic power. So I don't mean that in terms of party. I mean that in terms of more people are able to exert control over their own lives. And so there's so many ways of like getting involved with community, of making our voices heard. One way that I've been really interested in recently is particularly thinking about government and how I can be more involved in taking these really little steps to like build up my like confidence, to build up my knowledge that these spaces aren't as scary as I think of them. And so I think doing things like responding to the city of Tucson comes out, I would say, once or twice a year with surveys about how they should be using their money. And so, you know, how do we answer those so we can get a little more confidence to sit into a city council meeting? And I know there are lots of barriers to doing it, but what would it look like to just like be there, see how those processes look like, so that, you know, when something comes up that we really care about, we know what it looks like to advocate, to say how we're feeling about it or what impacts different policies might have. And so, yeah, again, that's something that I'm really interested in developing. And we're lucky here we have a food policy council. And so I support with that, and we're trying to get more opportunities for folks to see what it feels like to be more involved, and how do we build up those skills, those tools in all of us, to have our voices heard more, have more of a seat at the table.
And I think sometimes it's like really hard to take space in areas where we are not used to being in. Like you're mentioning, you're taking all this, like trying to learn and this to try to put yourself in those areas. But a lot of times, even like your farmer's market, a lot of people, we might not feel like we can step in that and take any space in those areas. So the fact that you have it in a library where they're used to taking their kids all summer long to participate in the summer book program, or is this place that is available for them, and that's the place that's holding the market, is by relationship you're already kind of in and safe for them. So they're able to take up space in there. So I think that's, I mean, for me as a low income growing up person and having all those, I know that we struggle taking up space. So I love that you guys are creating a safe place for people to be able to take as much or as little space as they can wherever they are in their journey of life. So that's really neat.
Thank you. It's a beautiful way of putting it.
Yep. Okay, so we're wrapping up here. Do you have any more resources or anything else that you want to share? It's been such a neat time with you, and we've learned so much. And there's so many things that we can like dwell in that you have shared with us. But do you have any resources or any other information that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. So there are two programs that we have at the market that I think are really incredible, and I'd love for more folks to know about. One is called Double Up Food Bucks. And so that is at a lot of farmers markets. All the farmers markets in Tucson have it, but at different farmers markets around the state, they will also have it. And so that's where if you use your EBT card, your food stamp card, you will get twice the dollar amount. So either every transaction will be half price, or you will get like a same amount credit, pay $1, you get $1 back to spend on local fruits and vegetables.
So not only is it half price, but they also get an extra discount or a double, like you're saying, the double bucks. So everybody can buy at half price, even if they pay with their EBT card, plus they get double bucks. Oh my gosh, that's such a neat incentive for them to buy healthy food.
Yeah, it's an amazing program. And then the other program that I love is called Farmers Market Nutrition Program. And so these are coupons that if you're a WIC participant or if you're an income eligible senior, you can get a book of, at its base, it's $50. And then this year we have a match of another $50. And so, a child on WIC can get $100 right now. And if the parent is also on WIC, they can also get a $100 coupon book.
Where do they get this coupon?
So they can come to our market. There are other markets throughout the state, and you can sign up right before you go shopping. And you can use it throughout the whole year as long as the market is open until usually like November, December time. And it's amazing. I mean, it really, really will bring a lot of resources.
Yeah, up to $100 of free produce, basically. That's really neat. Free produce that is already at half price as what you would pay, and it's fresher because you guys just got it from the farmer. Oh my goodness, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So you guys are really bringing the healthy, nutritious food to this market. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're really trying to, and our community is so sweet and kind. And so if you do come out, I think one of the big perks is that you get to interact with other customers who are the best. And we're so lucky to have those folks on our team.
That's so exciting. Well, we'll let you go, and yeah.
Thank you so much, Ivonne. This has been so fun. I really appreciated the opportunity to chat with you, and I look forward to chat next time.
Thank you. We'll see you guys later.